Hey, I want to challenge you to stop using the N word. And this has been a big debate over time, but what I did is I pictured the person who came up with the word, like the person who decided to use the word as a racial slur. I pictured that person's face looking at me saying the word today and what they would go through and what they would think, knowing the intent behind the word, what they intended it to be. And I put myself in their shoes and I think about if I really wanted to destroy someone's self-esteem and just really ruin them and just rip them to shreds and just make them feel worthless. And then I saw them become that word and embody that word. And then I looked in their communities and I saw that the word is true and it's ringing true and it has power. I looked at their families. I looked at the millions of fathers who are not taking care of their children. I looked at the millions who are locked behind bars. And then I see that this word that was intended to demean and degrade and to debase this group of people, it actually has so much power and they don't realize it. If I was that person who came up with that word as a racial slur, I would feel like I succeeded and I would feel victorious. And we say that we use the word because it takes the power from it. You can't take power from words. A word is a word and death and life is in the tongue. So what you say, it has power. So you cannot remove the power from a word that is a word to destroy. And then what happens is Asians use the word, Hispanics use the word, whites use the word with their black friends or in secret. And it is a forbidden and taboo word. And because it's so forbidden and because it's such a taboo word, people of other races who use it, they feel empowered. They feel like they got a black card. They feel like they could go to the barbecue. They feel like because they friends black. But see, let me ask you this. What do you think the Jews were called when they were going through Holocaust? And when have you ever been around Jews and heard them referring to themselves as a racial slur that was used by another race to destroy their self-esteem? So by breaking free, by overcoming, coming through, breaking through, and then breaking free from all association of that destruction, look at the communities of the Jews. How many fatherless homes do you see? How many broke, downtrodden, impoverished do you see? So see, a lot of times we don't think the things we say have any control. But you have to think about the origin. You got to think about the origin and the intent of the word. And you got to understand that it still holds power. And you have to understand how foolish and how ignorant you look when you use a word that was intended to destroy your self-esteem and you actually not in a position of power. Your people are not in a position of power. As black people on a large scale, we still are losing. And we can't count people playing sports as our generational wealth or generational success or breaking generational curses because we've always been used for our athletic bodies. So in a lot of ways, professional sports is just another plantation. We can't count music as success because artists still killing themselves with drugs. And when they're not killing themselves with drugs, they're killing each other with guns. And it all is in association with this pervasive word, the N word, that is the most used word in the black culture. But yet we forget that death and life is in the power of the tongue and that words have power. So every single time you use the N word, you are cursing yourself. You are cursing the person you talking to. And look at their life. And look at your life. And I don't care if you use it and you got money. But when I say look at your life, I say look at your behind the scenes. Look what you addicted to. Look what you can't break free from. Look at them vices. Look at how your marriage or your relationship doing. Look at how your relationship with your kids doing. See, words, they blessings or they curses. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't use the N word and I didn't use, if I ever use it, I'm using it in context. I'm using it in context, or I am literally using the word I'm repeating something that was said to tell a story or express something. But it's been probably over a decade. And I'm going to tell you, I've experienced freedom. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially, I've experienced freedom. And so I want to help you understand that the things that we taking for granted, the things that we think don't have no power, they have power. They have power. And you got to remember the origin and the intent. Because imagine, this is another thing that I did. I imagine my ancestors who were called the N-word while they were being hung, while they were being beaten, while they were being hosed by fire hydrants, fire hoses, while they were being attacked by vicious German shepherds, and they were being ripped apart at their flesh, while they were being whipped on the plantation. See, I picture my ancestors who had to hear that word as the most degrading, disrespectful, harmful, atrocious word in the dictionary, in the English language. And what that word means to them. And I feel the lashes on their back. I feel the pressure of that fire hose ripping their skin off their bone. I feel the teeth of them German shepherds ripping the meat off the bone. I feel a hot bullet going in their skull. I feel the noose around their neck. And I look them in the eyes. And I use that N-word, laughing and joking with a homeboy. And I envision what they see. And I really ask myself that a word that was associated with so much pain and so much destruction, can those who actually endured that word, who experienced that word in its origin and intent, can they ever find a moment that they can say this word is liberation, and this word being used while laughing and joking at the family reunion removes the noose from my neck and the pain that I experienced and the hurt? Never can that word be powerless. The word is a curse, just like every other curse word that you use. And that's why I don't use a single curse word. That's why a curse word is called a curse. That's why it is called profanity, because it is profane. But if you want to be sacred, if you want to be righteous, you cannot mix the sacred with the profane. So that is why our world and our lives cannot be set free, because we cursing ourselves every single day and don't realize the power of words. See, even when we look at the Creator and we see the words that were used, let there be light. He didn't build the sun. We don't see any documentation of a being pressing together balls of light to create a sun. But we just hear, let there be light. Let the earth be separated from the water. We hear words, rise and walk. You are forgiven. You are healed. We hear words, but we don't think about the power of the words that come out of our mouth. When you look at trauma, so much trauma that people are living with comes from the words of their parents or their bullies or their lovers. And those words oftentimes hurt more and last longer than physical abuse. But yet we try to take away the power from words. You cannot remove the power of a word. It is always there, no matter how you use it, no matter what you say around it, it is always there. And to get to the root of it, if you use the N-word, it is rooted in ignorance. It is rooted in low self-esteem. It is rooted in rebellion. It is rooted in self-hate. You use the N-word because you want to sound cool. You want to fit in. You want to sound powerful. You want to sound like you hip or you down with the culture. But I'm here to tell you that you sound stupid. You sound stupid. You sound ignorant. You sound self-hating. You sound self-deprecating. You sound like a slave master's dream. You sound like your ancestors' worst nightmare. I want you to understand that it's time to be liberated in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit. It's time to grow up. It's time to operate with real power and stop lying to yourself, telling yourself that the word you using that's cursing your entire race is powerful, and that you are using it because it means nothing. Because if it means nothing anymore, then it wouldn't make sense to use it. And this hit me because I was watching a press conference last night and a young man got angry. And in front of all these Asians and Hispanics and whites, he started berating another black man with the N-word. So if we using this word also in anger and frustration, then that means that this word is still a derogatory term. Because if you're using it when you're mad at somebody and you calling them a stupid N or a B-A-N or a stupid A-N, that's a derogatory word. That's still a hurtful word. So we can't choose when it could be fun and free and when it could be hurtful. And then we can't use a word and then get mad when somebody else use it, thinking that because our ancestors felt the pain, we get a free pass to use it. When your ancestor, when you ain't never heard an ancestor tell you, yeah, it's okay to use that word. You ain't never heard nobody live through Jim Crow tell you, yeah, it's okay to use that word in a fun-free way. Never. We just the dumbest the slave masters wanted us to be. But now it's time to be free for real. It's time to be free for real. Time to grow up and mature. It's time to love yourself. Stop hating yourself. You ever seen a white person's face when a black person used the N-word in front of them? They start to cringe and they tense up. The reason being is because they know the intent of the word. They know what the word really means. Not what the dictionary say it means, but they know what the word really means. They know that word mean you finna be hung. They know that word mean you finna be raped. They know that word mean you finna lose your life. They know the intent of the word. They know what the word was created to do. That's why they tense up when they see black people using the word so freely in front of them. Because they cannot imagine. They can't imagine ever using a word that was intended to hurt them freely and fun. They can't imagine they can't imagine a Jew using a word that Hitler used to use to describe them freely and fun. They can't imagine it. So listen, it's time for us to stop excusing ignorance and to stop explaining away ignorance and self-hate just because we don't want to have the responsibility of thinking before we speak, of watching our words. Yes, it's not easy. Yeah, it takes emotional intelligence. Yeah, it takes some thought. Yeah, you got to actually process your words before they come out your mouth. But it's worth it. It's worth it. And it ripped me to shreds when I was sitting in the airport with my son soccer team, and the older soccer team was sitting there, and little white boys was using the N-word. It took everything in me not to get up and say something, but I knew it would have embarrassed my son and embarrassed my wife, but it took me everything in me not to go tell them little white boy, boy, don't you ever in your life say that word again. People were hung behind that word. People were killed with that word. People were raped with that word. People were beat with that word. Your ancestors created that word to destroy my people. Boy, don't you ever let that come out your mouth. Then I hear Asian, Vietnamese, Chinese, L-E, all the E's using the word. Hispanic, Puerto Rico, Dominican, all of them using the word just freely. And that's our fault. That's our fault. And I know that this one video ain't gonna banish the word and end the word, but if you got some sense and you don't watch this video, you stop using it and you don't let nobody in your presence use it, and don't let your kids use it, and just if each one teach somebody else, it'll create a ripple effect, and we can make a little difference in our own family, our own lineage, our own circle. Teach the ignorance behind that word instead of trying to use it while you're still on alcohol addiction and marijuana addiction and porn addiction and government assistance, and using the word and talking about it's powerless. While your family rotting in prison and using the word and talking about it's powerless. While we broke and ain't got no generational wealth and we living as millionaires, we still paycheck to paycheck, still taking loans, still up under somebody's thumb and using the word talking about it's powerless. It's time to wake up.